Welcome on into another episode of the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell and Mitchell Balla here. It is the middle of the week show. It's a good one to be on. Mitch, thank you for joining me once again. It's going to be a fun weekend here in Northeast Ohio. We got many games to get to here, not just in Cleveland with the playoffs and the NBA and the NFL coming back, but we have a lot of stuff going on between our areas, and we want to make sure that you guys have the latest as to what's going on this week.
Mitch, there's a lot going on. A lot. Whether you are a football fan at any level, high school, college, pro, maybe you're a baseball fan, which is the best time to be a baseball fan, especially if your team is one of the 6 remaining in their league, 12 overall. Or Mitch, while we record this evening, after we're done recording this, we'll be able to watch preseason basketball because the Cleveland Cavaliers are back in action. I made the comment last show. We are in the best month of the year in terms of all the sporting events going on. And I think really this weekend, starting today while we record this on a Wednesday, I know this will drop on a Thursday when everyone gets to listen to it. You're going to get a taste of every sport practically every day for the next month. I love it.
It's a good time. And before we get into our discussions, obviously, I want to remind you, the listener or the viewer, that you can follow us on YouTube for the podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, because, subscriptions don't mean as much as if you don't hit the bell, so you get the notifications of when we post. We also have multiple streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. I think I accidentally forgot to post episode 18 on SoundCloud, but I will make sure to do so. In the meantime, you can also find us on our website, bigtimesportsohio.com. That's where you can find the latest articles and videos of the Big Time Sports Show and many others, game replays, and, Facebook and Twitter, at BTS Ohio, Big Time Sports Ohio, at Mitch Spinell, at Mitchell Balla. It's a good one. So, Mitch, we now go into week 8 of the football season, and we see a number of matchups for this week. Some teams kind of brewing up some preparation games before they get into the final 2 weeks of the season, which are crucial, obviously, for teams getting into the postseason, trying to get those final spots of the 16 per division. So per division and region, I should say. So this week we have a pair of matchups this coming Friday. We have Louisville taking on Glen Oak, and we have Claymont taking on Sandy Valley. Mitch, what can you tell us about the Leopards and the Eagles?
Well, first off, Leopards and Eagles, these are 2 teams that I think, despite their record, Mitch, are much better than the record. Louisville, though, is coming off a huge win for this team, and really the program with where Louisville football has been the past couple of years. They got a massive win, 27-23 over the Green Bulldogs last week. Glen Oak coming off a 38-0 drubbing at Jackson last week. It was Jackson's homecoming. But Mitch, I told you that Glen Oak, when I covered them a few weeks ago when they were at Hoover, they lost that game by 10. I took a look at their roster after talking with head coach Scott Garcia before the game. 99 players on that roster, right? We talked about they are a Division I, Region I team. They are one of the bigger schools in the entire Northeast Ohio area. Only 16 of those players are seniors. This is a very young team. This is a team that, assuming no injuries happen and everybody returns next year, is going to be a team to be reckoned with, not only in 2023, but 2024 as well. And they're so streaky that I would very much expect this to almost be a thriller. Right now, Glen Oak is positioned right now inside the top 16 in Division I, Region I. As you know, it's now 16 teams, like you said, instead of 8, which it changed back in 2020. Glen Oak, though, not at a spot where they'd really be looking to host a playoff game. It's going to be hard for them to do that. They'd pretty much have to win out and have some help along the way. And even if that happened, it's not a given. But they can really set themselves up and carry some momentum here in weeks 8, 9, and 10 before week 11 comes around, Mitch. If they just get back to the style of play and stop making costly mistakes. Glen Oak has not been able to get out of their way all season long. The games they have been able to, for the most part, I know I just contradicted myself. Okay, I get it. Was at Lake this year. Lake, one of the best teams in Stark County, and Glen Oak had the ball down to Lake's 11 in the fourth quarter, 4th and goal, and they come up just a couple yards short. It shows you that they can hang with any team in the Federal League or in Stark County. But you also see last week at Jackson when they were shorthanded and they don't get out of their own way, they can get dropped quickly in that 38-0 loss. I think this is actually going to be a very entertaining game. Like I said, if you throw the records out the window, I think you're going to say both these teams are better than what their record really shows. I expect it to be a fun backyard rivalry type game. And I'm excited. I think there's going to be some offensive fireworks for sure.
Well, that game you can check out the replays of on the Big Time Sports on BigTimeSportsOhio.com, as well as local access channels for the North and South areas. For the South, it's Channel 15 in Tuscarawas County, and for the North, it's Spectrum 989, as well as Massillon Cable 128. You can also listen, I believe you can watch the live editions on local broadcast network. As for the Tuscarawas County area, it will be Sandy Valley going up against Claymont. Now, Claymont is an interesting one because they will be hosting. They're one of the most, I would say, bipolar teams of the last couple of weeks in the IVC this year. Their last 4 games have been shutouts, and 3 of those have been victories for Claymont. They won against Marietta 14-0 back on September 9th, and the week after they beat Buckeye Trail 27-0. Then Garaway, one of the top teams, obviously in the area, if not the state, come in and just trounce the Mustangs 56-0, and then Claymont rebounded with a 35-zip win over Tusky Valley in week 7. So now you take on one of the other valleys in Sandy, who kind of got off to a bit of a tough stretch. We were there in the opening week against Fairless, 31-0. Sandy Valley had a few missing pieces during that matchup, though. Got a couple of wins out of conference against Manchester and Minerva in weeks 2 and 4, but otherwise, it's been kind of a rougher stretch for Coach Brian Gamble's squad, especially in the last 3 weeks, losing back-to-back games to East Canton, Indian Valley, and Ridgewood. The Indian Valley game, especially giving up 61 points to the Braves, was a tough one there. So it's 3-4 Claymont versus 2-5 Sandy Valley. It's going to be a very interesting one. Obviously, we'll be there. I'll be there at least to see Coach Gamble's squad take on the Mustangs. You can also look back to our interview with Coach Brian Gamble just before the start of the season here on the Big Time Sports YouTube channel. We have the singular clip on its own. As for the rest of the remaining area teams, I was looking up some of the IVC matchups in here as well. I believe Dover is on the road this week, and if I'm not mistaken, yes, they go on to play Boardman, who, like Dover, is 4-3 on the season so far. Now, Dover is coming in having lost 3 consecutive games, while we also have Boardman having won 3 out of their last 4, but they are coming off a 24-21 loss to Warren Harding High School last week. Now, Mitch, before I get into some of the other ones, the Federal League is really starting to heat up in terms of teams really finding themselves, and we're coming off a number of games last week that were very interesting. Obviously, Lake suffering their first loss to McKinley. Where do we see the Blue Streaks right now? They're still going to be one of the top teams in the league, but what are they going to have to do this week, specifically against their upcoming opponent, to really kind of rebound from that loss to the Bulldogs?
Well, Mitch, it starts with having a quick memory and erasing the fact they just lost their first game of the season, but now they go on the road to Hoover, a tough place to play, and Hoover's hungry after defeating Perry last week. And you mentioned the Federal League standings. Here they are. I got them right here for you, and everything's decided right now by one game, practically between the 1 seed and 3 seed. And then Jackson's sitting at 4s in the middle. And then the 5, 6, and 7 all have the same record in terms of the league, give or take. Some teams haven't had byes yet, but Lake goes to Hoover, Mitch. They're tied at 2nd right now in the Federal League standings. Lake 6-1 overall, 2-1 in Federal League play. Hoover 5-2 overall, 2-1 in Federal League play. So now you're talking about, this is realistically the biggest game for both teams at this point in the season, because now you're one McKinley loss away from throwing yourself back into winning the Federal League championship for football. It's not going to be an easy game, but however, that's another game. There's a ton of good games this weekend in Stark County and in Tuscarawas County, Mitch. We're at the point now where almost every single game we're watching, a team's going to be able to spoil someone's season and championship hopes, and another team's going to, really prove that they are where they should be. They belong, and it's why they're going into weeks 8, 9, and 10 with meaningful football to be played. So you have Lake at Hoover. You have to wonder what the injury report looks like for Lake. Like I mentioned, they were down at least 4 or 5 starters last week. Jarvis, their other quarterback, they like to do the 2 quarterback system. He was out. He's their primary ball thrower in terms of Will Butler, who likes to run as a quarterback. So is Jarvis back this week? We'll have to wait and see. Some other games, though, Mitch, that have some huge meeting. Jackson at McKinley. Now, Jackson has not beaten McKinley Bulldogs, I believe, in over 20 years. I believe the last time they won was 2001, which I believe, if my math is correct, what is very fitting is Jay Rohr would have been a senior that year, who is now the Polar Bears head coach. Does Jackson have a shot? Yes, every team has a shot. It's going to be hard though for Jackson. McKinley is so athletic. Their secondary is so long, and Jackson already has a hard time throwing the ball, Mitch, that if Jackson gets into long downs and distances, McKinley might be able to put pressure on Joe Lattarulo, the Jackson quarterback, get in there and force some costly turnovers. But if Jackson can control the tempo and run the ball, we know McKinley can run the ball with Nino Hill. I mentioned a few weeks ago when Jackson and Perry played two teams that run. This could be a very quick game. It could be high scoring as well. We'll have to wait and see. But you also have Perry at Green, Mitch. Perry 4-3 overall, Green 3-4. Both teams 1-2 in the Federal League. Still 3 weeks left to play. This game means something because if a team drops 2 of their last 3, you're talking about this team jumping from 5th or 6th in the standings all the way up to the top. The Federal League is bunched up. This is the most even it's been in years. I'm excited to see how it plays out, see what Lake does after suffering their first loss of the season. Can McKinley stay hot? I mentioned it in our last episode that dropped on Monday. McKinley right now is one team I would not want to see if I'm an opposing team. So can they stay hot? And then you have Massillon, right? Yesterday, Mitch, we dropped a graphic yesterday on our social media pages of the top 3 teams in Tuscarawas County. If you haven't seen it yet or you don't agree with it, go ahead and go voice your comments on Twitter or on Facebook. Massillon, though, I think it's undisputed they are the hottest team in Stark County, Mitch, and that graphic should be dropping here in the next few days or maybe in the next week, ranking the top 3 teams. Massillon hosts another team from out of state. Canisius from New York is who they will play Friday night at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. And then, Mitch, outside of the Federal League, you have West Branch at Alliance. Alliance, as we know, off to a phenomenal start with head coach Tim Goodman. We touched base with him earlier when this podcast series started, possibly going to have him on here again. Tuslaw, Canton South. Canton South had a big win. Can they stay alive in the Pac-7? And then Fairless at Manchester. We talked about Fairless kind of being the favorite heading into the season. They've suffered now 2 losses, and they really have no choice but to win out here and ask for some help along the way if they want to get back in and go for back-to-back titles. Meaningful football, though, all the way around.
Fairless does have a bit of a break this week, seemingly against 0-7 Manchester. Now, as for the Tuscarawas County area, 2 very interesting matchups in the IVC. We have Indian Valley on the road to West Lafayette against Ridgewood. Ridgewood now is currently 2nd in the IVC South at 6-1 behind undefeated Garaway. Now, Indian Valley is 4-3, so it's very it's impossible for them to catch up and win the title at this point because not only would they match Garaway in losses if they win out and Garaway would lose out, but then Garaway has the win advantage from last week. So that's a good matchup, though, for Coach John Slusser's squad, and I'm really wondering if the Generals can really prove themselves well after suffering a loss earlier on in the season, but they're still undefeated in conference play, and that Week 10 matchup is the one to look out for. Now, as for the other game, I'm a big proponent of the IVC North because, obviously I went to Strasburg High School, and that's where my school is, and meanwhile, the Tigers are taking on Buckeye Trail this week. But Newcomerstown takes on Malvern this week. And right now, both of the schools are 2-0 in conference play. Malvern 6-1. Newcomerstown is at 5-2 so far this year. And I was fortunate enough to sit down with many of the players and coaching staff of the Trojans when they came into the Big Time Sports studio just a few weeks ago. This team is serious. I mean, I know they suffered a loss to Indian Valley a few weeks ago, and they're still in 2nd place behind Malvern, but this team is a serious contender, I think, for not only tonight, but potentially the rest of the season. And if they get this victory, that would be immensely huge for them to get the advantage for a potential IVC North championship. So that's the one to definitely look out for. And then, of course, we also have New Philadelphia at home tonight against 2-5 Lexington. See if the Quakers continue their winning way. Since that loss to Mansfield, they have rattled off good wins against Mount Vernon and Mansfield, or the other Mansfield, I should say. So we shall see. What are your guys' predictions for this week? I mean, you can comment below. You can add us on Twitter at Mitch Spinell, at Mitchell Balla. So when we come back, we'll be getting more into the professional side of football, and we'll be making our picks for Week 5.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
You invest a lot in your home and vehicle purchases. Van Nostrand Young and Associates want you to feel secure should anything happen to those investments. We partnered with providers like Grange Insurance and other industry leaders to be sure you're presented with the most complete coverage to fit your needs. Because we're not only here to protect the items you invest in, we're here to protect your future as well.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris. Think Ferris.
Buying a home has never been so affordable with record low interest rates. Hartzler's Quality Housing is ready to put over 40 years of experience to work for you. Family owned and operated since 1978, Hartzler's has a wide selection of model homes on site with a knowledgeable team to help make your new home a reality. Open 6 days a week, visit them off I-77 in Dover or online at hartzlers.com. Hartzler's Quality Housing. Quality from start to finish.
When others treat your fries as an afterthought, all you're left with are cold, soggy fries. That's why Wendy's new fries are ones you won't forget, guaranteed to be hot and crispy, or we'll replace them. We're talking natural cut, skin-on fries, perfectly seasoned with a hint of sea salt. In fact, they're even preferred almost 2-to-1 over McDonald's. These are fries so hot and crispy, they beg a new question.
What would you like with your fries?
Try them today, only at Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, taste preference based on a national taste test by an independent research company.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell, Mitch Balla here. It's now time to talk about the NFL. It's now time to talk about the Cleveland Browns, Mitch, who are going now into Week 5 with a 2-2 record. And I can see you're already in your feelings for this one. They take on a LA Chargers team that exercised a lot of their demons this past Sunday against the Texans, even though Houston kind of made a bit of a comeback run. You know, Mitch, I can't expect some of our key pieces to still be back for this week. I mean, Myles Garrett, I don't know if we're going to get him back this coming Sunday, and then a couple of other ones as well. And that being said, what are the feelings going into this game this week? Because I have less confidence in this one than I did against the Falcons. Now, granted, the Browns lost to the Falcons. The offense for San Diego is a concern only because there have been multiple times this season where the secondary has been allowing key plays, and a player like Justin Herbert could easily expose those gaps.
There is no confidence. And I'm not saying that because I always tell you I'm going to pick against the Browns. There is zero confidence that the Browns can win this game. It does not look like you're having Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney back. Just from my standpoint, they just signed another defensive tackle or defensive end, I believe, that was a free agent. Mitch, last year, we went to Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium, and we played the Chargers, and it was a thriller. It was actually one of the better games Baker Mayfield played all last year. The offense scored 42 points. Yet still somehow when we lost, it was still Baker's fault. That's neither here nor there. I remember for the first time in a long time last year, seeing a wide receiver so wide open that there wasn't even a defensive back in the same screen as him and Mike Williams. But that's okay. Last year it was a new defense. They were still gelling. You know, Joe Woods just needed time. Well, he's had time. It's been almost a year to the date. I believe this is just 1 week earlier than we played him last year. Our secondary sucks. We are the worst defense in the NFL in terms of yards given up in the fourth quarter. It's not, we're averaging almost 8 yards given up in the fourth quarter. Our secondary is terrible. Greg Newsome told us after week 1 on the bomb to Robbie Anderson, it was miscommunication, won't happen again. It's happened 3 of the 4 times in the first four games. No Myles Garrett, no Jadeveon Clowney potentially. Herbert's going to eat us alive. I have no confidence in the Browns defense whatsoever. This schedule only gets harder from here on out with maybe the exception of week 6 against the Patriots. I say maybe because it's still Bill Belichick. He knows how to craft up a defense, and he knows what Jacoby Brissett can do as he coached him already. I have no confidence. I will be 100% shocked if the Cleveland Browns win this game on Sunday, because there's just way too much going on. And unfortunately, Mitch, I want to get this out there now. I am not a Kevin Stefanski hater. I am a Kevin Stefanski I think is too far in over his head. I think he's a tremendous play caller. I don't think he's head coach. And I think he likes to get too fancy. I think he likes to try to, oh, well, they know we're going to run, we're going to pass here. You don't have a passing attack that's going to be able to beat these better teams. You just don't. When's the last time you saw us do what the Panthers, the Jets, and the Falcons did to us in the fourth quarter with a deep pass? Because I believe last week our biggest play was a 15-yard pass to Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah.
That's been the longest pass play this year. When you want a home run play on offense, your best hope is to take the snap, look left or look right, and hand it off to Nick Chubb. Like, that's what it is, Browns fans, that you just be honest with yourself. We don't have the type of team and offense right now to stay in an offensive shootout with the team like the Chargers. Last year, we were able to do it, put up 42 and still lost, and that was on the defense. But, Mitch, I have absolutely no confidence this week. The Chargers are the worst run defense in the NFL. Why am I nervous that the first drive is going to be scripted out for Jacoby Brissett to pass the ball? Why do I not have confidence in Kevin Stefanski when it gets to 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 to either A, hand the ball off to Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt, or B, sneak it with your quarterback who looks like he gets 8 yards every quarterback sneak this year?
I mean, that's kind of what gives me some hope, is that the Chargers' run defense is so poor. Now, granted, the Falcons kind of had the same problem, that I think if Chubb and Hunt are given more of the opportunities, even more so than they were last week, then you can stay in the game. You can keep the ball away from Herbert and the offense for so long. It's just if the defense can hold them off for even 30 seconds, because Herbert could potentially throw a deep pass down the field, and who knows what's going to happen with the secondary. As far as that goes, we might as well get into the picks now, because we have a lot of picks to get through for this segment. So we start off on Thursday night, which will be the day that this episode drops. We have the Colts taking on the Broncos in prime time on Prime. Denver's 2-2, so things could be a lot worse. But if you ask the average NFL fan right now, it's a complete dumpster fire out in the Rockies, and they're taking on a Colts team that I think is in an even worse position than Denver is right now. That being said, though, can Indianapolis steal a win on the road against the Broncos?
I think it's going to be very hard for him. I'd rather, if this game was in Indy, I think there's a better chance, Mitch, just because the Colts have already had so many issues this year. Yet their win is against, the team that's number 1 in the power rankings right now, or number 2 in the Chiefs. That there's the whole, it's always hard to play in Denver, whether it's football, basketball, or baseball. Nyheim Hines, the backup running back, who potentially is going to be the starting running back tomorrow night if Jonathan Taylor is unable to go, mentioned that this is now, I believe, their 5th straight season with a 5th different starting quarterback. And that's the reason they're off to slow starts. There is no consistency there. And we know it as Browns fans. We definitely know what that's like. The Colts roster is good, Mitch. It really is. I'm not saying it's great, but it's a good roster. I think the Colts could, but I just think there's a lot of uncertainty there right now. I think the Broncos, we saw Russ have his best game last week. I think he comes home. I think the Broncos get it done, though. I
agree. Denver's a 3-point favorite heading in. I think you could give them a little more than that, just because again, with the Indianapolis, it's just that they're kind of like what the Titans used to be. You just can't quite have such a terrible year that they can draft a highly touted quarterback. I'm sure if Indianapolis loses tonight, you might hear some rumblings of them trying to officially tank the season. Not the team tank the season, but like some fans will want them to tank the season so you can go after CJ Stroud in the next spring draft. So then we go over to Sunday, where we have another international game in the morning. We have an 8-point favorite right now in the Green Bay Packers, coming off of an overtime winning Green Bay, up against the Giants, who beat the Bears last week. I don't know. There's something about this game where I can't take the points for Green Bay, but I think I'll still take the Packers. I think the Giants, kind of like we were talking about with the Browns, if Saquon Barkley can engineer the offense enough and keep the ball away from Aaron Rodgers, I think the Giants can make it interesting, but I still take the favorites in this one.
Yeah, I don't think they can make it interesting. I think that we kind of saw Aaron Rodgers figure something out last week. I also think it's hilarious that people want to kind of write him off at times.
Yeah.
And then last week you literally saw him. It was like he was sleepwalking the first 4 quarters and then woke up in overtime and said, yep, all right, let's go home and win. And that's what they did. I think the Packers go over there, and let's keep in mind, Aaron Rodgers is already upset that they have to play overseas, and that this does technically count as a Packers home game. He was very vocal about that in the offseason. I'm going to take the Packers. I think they roll.
I can see not liking it as a player. As a fan, I like waking up to football.
Oh, awesome.
Makes me feel like I'm on the West Coast.
Mitch,
It's great.
14 hours straight of football if you wake up and watch that, because the Sunday night game isn't ending until about 11:30. So you're
That's
talking
true.
about 14 hours of football. It's what's better?
Not a lot. This is one of the larger point differentials of the week. The Steelers up against the Bills. Buffalo 14-point favorites at home. Now, the Steelers have what looks to be their new quarterback in Kenny Pickett after coming in for Mitch Trubisky Sunday. And the Bills are the Bills. They beat the Ravens. Great strategy, I should mention, if I didn't say it last podcast. Great strategy from them, running the clock down so much at the end there. That was amazing for what they were able to do. That being said, if Buffalo were to lose this game, Mitch, if they were to lose the point differential, that's completely on them if I pick them, right? Like, we're gonna both pick Buffalo and call it a day.
Yeah, I'm picking Buffalo. I think that the only way that Pittsburgh can stay in this game, Mitch, and I'm not necessarily saying I buy this theory, but hypothetically speaking, would be if it's because there's not enough film on Kenny Pickett, who is now the starting quarterback for the Steelers. Maybe
Sure.
the Bills don't know what the play set and play calls are going to be like for him. I can see Pittsburgh hanging around in this game, but I don't see a way how Buffalo would lose to home.
If
or lose
George,
at home.
I could see if George Pickens has a life-changing game, a career-defining game, maybe. But your top receiver right now is maybe him and Deontay Johnson. So you're really
Definitely not Chase Claypool. Definitely not him.
Yeah, it's weird right now in Pittsburgh. So we'll see.
I
how
will
it
say
goes.
this. I won't be shocked if we see, it's funny, I have to say reemergence, but with how he's played the first 4 weeks, the reemergence of Najee Harris. Part of me wonders if the quarterback change, and now maybe with how Kenny Pickett plays, maybe Najee Harris gets going a little bit more. Maybe the Steelers get a run game, but at the end of the day, quarterback change doesn't fix your offensive line problems.
Vikings are a touchdown favorite over the Bears in an afternoon matchup. Vikings coming off a win over Detroit, and the Bears lost to the Giants.
Vikings all day.
See, am I overthinking this by not automatically taking the Vikings? Like, that's what I'm curious about, because I don't want to pick so many favorites, but they are favorites for a reason.
I feel like this week, Mitch, a lot of these games are pretty simple to pick. That's just my opinion. Now, of course, I say that, and I'll probably end up coming back here next week, and I'll be like, man, I had a rough week. I went 5-11 and pick them when you have all these favorites. But just looking at it on the eye test, to me, it seems like there's about 2 or 3 games that you can argue. Other than that,
yeah, I feel like I'm overthinking it at this point, so I'm going to go with the favorites. Speaking of favorites, the Saints are coming in at 5-point favorites, despite having a worse record than the Seahawks, coming in at 2-2. New Orleans is 1-3. New Orleans, again, man, hasn't looked great to start off the year, and the Seahawks have been kind of wishy-washy since that Week 1 stunner with Denver.
Yeah, they put up 48 points last week in Detroit, though. I know Detroit was without probably their 2 best players on their entire team in Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift. I'm going to take the Saints. However, I would like to point out I reserve the right to change this pick before kickoff. If Alvin Kamara is out again, Winston out, Michael Thomas is out, or some other key injuries come up, Mitch, you will get a text from me saying I switched my pick. But as of now, at 12:53 p.m. on Wednesday, October 5th, I will take the New Orleans Saints.
You big cheater. I meant to say the Vikings played the Saints last week is what I meant to say. You big cheater. All right. I'm going to say Seattle. Keep it interesting.
Okay.
Just for stuff and giggles. AFC East matchup. Dolphins and Jets. Dolphins only a 3-point favorite because Tua's not going to play probably.
Yeah, probably is the key word there. Who knows? But he shouldn't play. This game is in New York, though, if I'm correct. Therefore, give me the Dolphins.
See, you're going with the Dolphins. I think I'm going to go with the Jets after last week's win in Pittsburgh. I think Zach Wilson might have gotten his feet on the ground a little bit and gotten a little more comfortable. And I don't know. I think there's something about this one. You could see the Jets be 3-2 after week 5 and not have it be a complete dumpster fire like it's been in years past. Because I don't think it's been that bad of a season for them so far. That being said, it's gonna be a close game. Zach Wilson's not raining 4 touchdowns on this Dolphins defense.
No way.
Here we go. Falcons up against the Buccaneers. Oh, Tampa Bay after that loss to Kansas City is 8.5, and they might have some outside effects coming into this game, which I don't know if we want to get to it now or if we want to get to it later. We're all aware of
we can get to it now. Let's just get it.
I mean, this is all reports. I mean, we're all just kind of touching on the reports that a certain Buccaneers quarterback has some personal things going on in his life, and some people are saying that might be the emotional heartbreaker that reduces him to nothing, or it could be the one that makes him who he is again and makes him rain 5 touchdowns this coming game and whips the team back into shape. I don't know personally. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know how this sort of stuff works, but I think in terms of this general matchup, the Buccaneers are 8.5-point favorites. I will take Tampa Bay. I will be cautious because maybe the Falcons can do what they did to the Browns last week and utilize time of possession enough that they get the points when it matters most. But I will say TB for the time being.
Well, selfishly, Mitch, I hope TB comes out and plays with a fire under his ass. I hope that's the case because from a fantasy football standpoint, he's my quarterback. But what is yet to be seen is the Buccaneers as a whole have looked dreadful the first 4 weeks. They have not looked what we thought they would be. I still think that the final score was closer than what the game actually looked like this past Sunday when they played the Chiefs in Tampa. I will take the Bucs. I'll take the spread for sure against the Atlanta Falcons. But with everything going on, and now that, according to multiple reports, it is finalized with the split between Tom and his wife. Are we going to see a motivated Tom Brady that, as some people were joking around saying he'll play till 50 now? Or are we going to see a different Tom Brady? Because Mitch, that's been the one mainstay for almost his entire career was his wife and family. And now you're talking about something off the field that I think would affect almost anybody in any profession. We'll have to wait and see. But right now I'm going to bank on Tom Brady coming out, playing this type of football he played last year, leading the league in passing, and the Buccaneers will throttle the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, I mean, granted, he hasn't been married his whole career. He started off. Right. I mean, he had the girl from John Wick was his girlfriend.
Yep,
that was the whole thing, and then they got married. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So then we got to the Falcons going up. The Titans going up against the Commanders. This is not the most impressive matchup of the week. It's a 2.5-point favorite for the Titans. Oh boy, I mean, Tennessee has not looked especially fantastic. And then again, neither have the Commanders, who have kind of gone on a streak here. I'll just say maybe Commanders just to make it interesting, and the fact that they're at home. So I'm just gonna go Commanders.
Yeah, see, I was kind of along the same lines as you, thinking about the Commanders because they're at home. But to make things interesting, I'll stick with the Titans here just because they are the better football team on paper.
Yeah.
But the Commanders are going to get somebody here in the next couple of weeks. They'll pull an upset somewhere.
Yeah. Speaking of upsets, Texans against the Jaguars. I don't even know if that's necessarily an upset, but like Texans are 0-3-1. Oh, so they are the last winless team. Son of a. I thought, okay, last week I said Raiders were the last winless team. I lied. Jaguars are 2-2. Trevor Lawrence has had some bright spots here this season. They're a touchdown favorite. I think I can easily say Jacksonville.
Yeah, part of me thinks that Houston's going to do the same thing I just said Washington will do. They'll get an upset somewhere. If this game was in Houston, though, I think I would take the Texans. But because it is in Jacksonville, I will go with the Jags.
All right, so there's that matchup in the South. Now we move over to, well, it's the combination of the NFC West and South. We have the Panthers hosting the 49ers, and the Niners on the road are 6.5-point favorites.
Niners all day. I'm taking the Niners. They'll go over to Carolina. They'll steamroll Baker Mayfield and the Panthers, and they're going to sit atop after Week 5 of the NFL in first place in the NFC West.
Who would have thought that the 49ers, with Jimmy Garoppolo as their starter before this season, would have been at this point in first place in the NFC West potentially? We haven't seen the results this week, but it's kind of fascinating. But who would have thought that the Dallas Cowboys would be 3-1 with Cooper Rush as their primary quarterback now, as they take on a Rams team that's kind of looked a little weaker this year. Now the Rams do go in this week as 4.5-point favorites in LA.
I'm taking the Rams. There's no way that the Cooper Rush is going to be able to rattle off 4 straight wins. Although I will say, from just a pure entertainment standpoint, I hope he does, because we have reports that Dak is already throwing the football again this week. He could be back as early as next week. Jerry Jones, how vocal he is about, quarterback controversy. Dak is the starter once he returns. But Mitch, we kind of joked about this on air and off air as Browns fans, is, what would have happened if Jacoby Brissett led the Browns to a 11-1 start? Do you throw Deshaun back in there? And so the whole thing is now is, if they win again this week, that's 4 straight wins with Cooper Rush at quarterback, and you put Dak in there and all of a sudden the Cowboys don't look the same, what happens? But look, I will say I'm taking the Rams.
Look, I have to take the Rams too. Also, can we just stop? Because I've been hearing, I saw it was on a TikTok the other day. It was this podcast there was one guy that was saying, what has Dak Prescott really done to be the automatic starter when he's come back? And I'm just thinking to myself, have you not seen the way? Okay. The man has been the consistent starter now for multiple seasons compared to a guy who's 3 weeks in to a fill-in spot. Yes, he's performed adequately, but the defense has really been the catalyst for a lot of these Cowboys victories. Give them credit right now. Give Cooper Rush his credit accordingly, but I'm so sick of it's like this thing with Jacoby. I'm so sick of the people who, once they see this guy have this miracle run, they think, oh, well, he's the answer. I know you could probably say, well, you might have thought the same about Jimmy Garoppolo. My only caveat to that is, my only response to that is, he still has it going for some reason. Like, I can't explain how he's done it for that long and for that amount of success, because unlike Dak, Jimmy G has been to multiple NFC title games and the Super Bowl and nearly won the Super Bowl. So there's some weird difference that I can't, only the universe can explain in my book. Eagles up against the Cardinals. Eagles undefeated still, 5-point favorites going in on the road. Now the Cardinals offense, though, if it gets going, no.
Eagles. That's all I'm saying.
All right. I'm taking Eagles as well. I'll just be basic. Then we have the primetime matchup on Sunday, and it's between two of the North. The Bengals in Baltimore against the Ravens. This could be whoever wins this game could potentially have first place in the AFC North if the Browns lose, especially by themselves. Baltimore coming in at 3-point favorites. I don't know about this one, man. It's such a close one.
This is one of the 3 that I think that you could pretty much say, which way could you see it going? I think the spread is right. I think it is. The home team usually generally always gets 3 points anyways. However, Mitch, I'm going to go with the Bengals here. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals on the road in Baltimore. I think the way that the Ravens lost that game last week is maybe going to be in the back of their mind. We saw Marcus Peters and Harbaugh get into it at the end of the game. Something just tells me Bengals, but I'm also doing it to be a little different here.
Well, I was going to say, I just checked my notes, and I kind of made the conclusion, same as you. I'm going with Cincinnati because the Ravens secondary has struggled so much that I could see Jamar Chase having a big game. I could see Joe Burrow looking comfortable enough to get his open receivers. And for some reason, the Ravens are 0-2 at home this year compared to their 2-0 start on the road, which is, it's what's the term that I'm looking for, where it's subjective. It's not subjective, but it's another word that I can't think of. But it's not concrete in that prediction. Now we have the Monday night game between the Raiders and the Chiefs. Chiefs are 7-point favorites, which is a little surprising considering the Raiders start this year. Although they did win last week, I'm penciling this in as one of my easiest picks of the week, even though the Raiders could make it interesting.
So you're taking the Chiefs?
Yes.
All right, give me the Raiders. The Raiders are a team. Now, this could all be null now because of the addition they made in the offseason of Devontae Adams, but the Raiders typically always beat the Chiefs or hang in there with them every single year, whether it's in KC or in Las Vegas. It is always an entertaining game. for some reason, Derek Carr likes to show out. It's also in prime time. I think we're going to have a high scoring offensive duel, and I'll be different here, Mitch. I will go with the Raiders.
All right. So we got that one. And then, of course, the last game of the week. Let's just pencil in. We have another one. What did I miss?
You missed the Detroit Lions at the New England Patriots.
Lions and Patriots. Okay. So I will say in that one, Lions and Patriots. Yeah, okay, there we go. So Lions and Patriots. The Patriots are 3-point favorites. I see. Are we? Is there any word on Brian Hoyer yet? Because that whole situation last week.
You mean Axel Hoyer? I don't know yet. I have not seen, but it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's Brian Hoyer, Axel Hoyer, Brian, or whatever. Matt Castle, the ghost of Tom Brady coming back. Give me the Detroit Lions.
Oh, all right.
Yep.
I'll give you Detroit. Well, yeah. I was about to say. No, I apologize for making fun of you there because I was going to do the exact same thing. I don't know why I thought. Yeah. I don't know what happened there.
Lions?
I forgot. I'm taking the Lions. I forgot one of the picks earlier. I did that. I'm losing my ways, but I know that we're both going to have to take LAC for this last matchup. Yeah. And look, as much as I want to remain the positive one in this relationship, it's going to be very difficult, I think, for the Browns offense to match up with a Chargers defense that could easily take advantage of the Browns defensive issues. And if you don't have all your key guys back there, if Myles Garrett isn't able to pressure Herbert, which I think he can, I think it's going to be more of like a target practice, it feels like, for the Chargers if they get their stuff together. If they don't, then the Browns do have a shot. But yeah, that's week 5 in the books. You have it on right there. You see all the picks we have there. What are your guys' picks? Obviously, you can comment below or you can add us. Tell us how right we were. Tell us how wrong we were or still are. And we will be right back with some more talk right after these quick messages.
You asked for it and we listened. Buckeye Career Center is now offering Certified Nail Technician as an adult education program. This 216-hour course begins in November and will run Tuesday through Thursday evenings from 5 to 9 p.m. Learn manicures, pedicures, infection control, salon operations, and more. Other part-time certification courses starting this fall include phlebotomy and welding. Call 330-339-2288 to register or visit BuckeyeCareerCenter.org for more information.
If you're looking for a new or pre-owned car or truck, why not see the Parkway Auto Group? Parkway is a special group of automotive experts with 8 brands to satisfy your needs. Come see the difference at the Parkway Auto Group on Commercial Parkway in Dover. 8 brands and 1 family. It's Parkway Auto Group.
The Furby Electric Supply Company has bright ideas for your home. Save money by converting to energy-efficient electrical products or add ambiance with beautiful lighting features. It begins with a professional consultation and a visit to the Furby Lighting Showroom. Then certified Furby contractors complete your project right and on time. Since 1934, 4 generations have built a reputation of quality and trust, and they offer emergency services too. Just visit Furby.com. That's F-U-R-B-A-Y. The Furby Electric Supply Company.
It takes a lot of practice to have a winning team. Albin Title has over 100 years of combined experience handling real estate, title, and escrow transactions. They serve Tuscarawas, Stark, Carroll, Harrison counties, and more. So choose Albin Title for your next home refinance, sale, or purchase. They'll get it done quickly and professionally. Contact Albin Title at 330-334-5800 or visit their website albintitle.com. Let them put their experience to work for you.
You matter. Everyone plays a part. We all have a role. Each of us can make a difference. You do matter, and the best way to have a positive impact is to pay it forward. With each of us helping one another to cope, feel better, and know that we belong. Pass on the positivity today. Tell someone else they matter too. Alt Care.
Alt Care, Alt Care. Where you matter.
Fall is in the air and part-time career enhancement courses at Buckeye Career Center are on the horizon. Registration is now open for Introduction to Beekeeping, Basic Small Engine Repair, and Sign Language. These part-time offerings run on Tuesday evenings and begin in November. Let Buckeye Career Center help you learn a new skill or advance your current skill set. Call 330-339-2288 for more information or to reserve your seat in one of these or our other part-time classes.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell, Mitchell Balla. Mitch, it's now time to talk about the Major League Baseball postseason, because by the time this episode comes out, we will be 1 day away officially. So now, Mitch, we do have the start times, by the way, for the upcoming Cleveland Guardians games in the AL Wildcard Series, because you texted me the tweet. I got multiple reports now flowing in about the start times for the potential 3-game series. So we have Friday and Saturday's matches between the Guardians and the Tampa Bay Rays, both at 12:07 p.m. start time Eastern. And then on Sunday, if it's necessary, the game will be at 4:07, which will be interesting to see on NFL Sunday. That is because they don't want to have the Browns and the Guardians playing at the exact same time. I mean, you don't want to take away from both teams if it's not already pre-scheduled, because we've seen plenty of Guardians afternoon games this year be in the same time as Browns games. So that was the dynamic there. But this one will be, you can watch the Browns game in the afternoon, catch the Guardians games if they play the third game against Tampa Bay, which is what I want to get to, because now the postseason, I believe, is set.
Oh, it is.
Unless there's some National League wildcard matchups that have to be shuffled around. We officially have all 6 of our matchups, I should say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 of them coming in the AL Wildcard Series round, which is best of 3 this year for the first time. And that's the one to get excited about. And then, of course, you have the Division Series best of 5, and then the LCS best of 7, World Series best of 7, as it usually is. So, Mitch, I want to take a look at this playoff picture right now and get where we think is going to be the finalized results of the year. And granted, this is going in without any injury perspectives, players having to be called up or called down or whatever, potentially shifts in the lineup or last minute changes. We don't know. But I'm looking at these wild card series rounds right now. I want to start in the National League before we get to the AL, because right now we have the 4 wild card teams set in the division winning the division winning Cardinals. The Mets did not win the division. They looked like they were going to, and then the Braves did by sweeping the Mets this past week and then clinching. So now we have the Phillies going up against the Cardinals, 6 versus 3, and the Padres versus the Mets, 5 through 4, which is to me the more interesting of the matchups, based on just potentially star power and the quality of series. When I look at the Padres and Mets, Mitch, the Mets have an interesting pitching dynamic going on right now, where some of their starters haven't been able to quite close out these later season games, but the Padres lineup hasn't been as fully advertised, even after the potential big 3 of San Diego was blown up by Fernando Tatis' suspension. That being said, you still have Soto in the lineup, you still have Manny Machado in the lineup, you still have some key pitchers that could go into this postseason doing some good things, that have experience. What do you see in that series going down?
I see 2 high-powered offenses on teams that absolutely struggled in the second half of the MLB season. The Mets, keep in mind, Mitch, at one point, I believe, had a 10.5 game lead in the NL East, and they ultimately choked it away like the New York Mets do every single year. So no surprise there. The Padres were one of the worst second half teams, especially given the deadline move they made to acquire Juan Soto, who was one of the best players in all of baseball. And he has even performed to the extent I think players thought he would. However, Mitch, I will take the Mets winning this series. I think that the 1-2 punch, and really 3 punch, I'm not a Mets fan. I don't know who their 3 is. I know they've done Chris Bassett. I know it's been Cookie Carrasco. It doesn't matter. The 1-2 punch of Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, if they're both healthy, is far and away potentially the best 1-2 punch in baseball. However, can the Mets get out of their own way and get out of their head? You just had your best 1-2 punch to wrap up the division this past weekend, and the Braves beat you. Can you have a quick memory and forget that? However, I just think the Mets are overall the better team than the Padres, so I will take the Mets over the Padres.
So you'll take the Mets over the Padres. As far as my own personal pick, that's tough, because I do think the Mets might have the pitching advantage, but I do think that if San Diego can really get the offense going, it could be easy for them. I think I'm going to go in the same boat as you. I'm going to take Mets, but I think it's going to be a 3-game set. I don't think it's going to be easy for them.
It's hard to say what it will be. I think it more so actually just kind of depends on the Padres pitching. I think that's kind of the deciding factor in the series. The Mets have the pitching. They have the best closer in the NL in Edwin Diaz. You know, they have a lot of pop. You have the NL leader in RBIs in Pete Alonso. The Padres, I feel like, besides their lineup being extremely inconsistent, it's what does the pitching look like? If their pitching's there, this is going to be potentially the best 3-game series in the wild card round, Mitch. I hope the Padres do win just because I'm not a New York fan at all when it comes to baseball. However, I just think the Mets are the better team. That's why I'm rooting for the Padres, but I do think the Mets are the better team and will win.
Not to mention the Mets have home field advantage, which is the key. All the wild card series this year, for those that don't know, have the better record team with the entire home field advantage. All 3 games we played at their respective park. So the other National League series between the Cardinals and the Phillies, rather, the Phillies who squeaked in past the Brewers in the last wild card spot. Bryce Harper returns to the postseason, and this is a Phillies team I think, Mitch, could upset the Cardinals, and I think I will take the Phillies in this upset win.
Wow, really?
I think that the Phillies have a better pitching rotation than the Cardinals do, may have a slight edge in bullpen, and I don't know. There's something about this team that was able to catch it on late. The Cardinals caught it on late too, but they're not an amazingly strong third division-winning team, so I think we will see a Phillies upset, even though I think it'll go the 3 games.
And see, I like that. I like that you're picking against the Cardinals because I will take the Cardinals. I struggle to say what's going to happen in terms of 2 or 3 games. I think that's the hardest part when it comes to baseball because there's just so many variables and so much unknown. I do think the Cardinals win this series. I think they are potentially, besides us, and I know we obviously know more about the Guardians than most people out there. Obviously, it's our team. I think the Cardinals might be the second most disrespected and under the radar team in the postseason this year. And so, Mitch, I'll just go out there right now. I have the Cardinals winning this series, and I have the Cardinals winning the next series and making it to the NLCS.
That's a bold prediction. And even though I did pick the Phillies, I would say definitely under the radar. As far as disrespected, I mean, they still won a significant amount of games, and they did what they needed to do to win the division. But I understand what you mean. But because of the National League and where it is right now, we'll get to those teams in a second because it's insane. As far as the American League, we have Toronto playing against Seattle this time. Now, Toronto has been on a pretty solid run lately. This is tough because Seattle's that feel-good story, man. They got back in the postseason 2 decades from their last advantage. I like what Seattle's bullpen can do. I think they can last longer than Toronto's can. I really want to say Seattle, but I feel like my head is telling me to take Toronto. I gotta go Toronto. I'm sorry. I gotta go with that one.
Mitch, to me, this is the most entertaining series. I hope that this series does go 3 games because I think that we're talking about the youngest, or not, I'm sorry, not the youngest team in baseball, but a team with literally the least amount of postseason experience as an organization as they made it for the first time in over 20 years. And Toronto, who we know what they're capable of. We know they have 3 former big leaguer sons on the team. We know they have George Springer and all this talent. These are the 2 teams, though, that I would have rather played if I was a Guardians fan because I think we stack up better. I think Seattle's pitching, though, all around is better. You have the likes of Robbie Ray, Luis Castillo at the front of your rotation for the Mariners. Their bullpen is phenomenal. J-Rod's back. Suarez in the middle of the lineup has the potential to put the ball out. I mean, I just really like the Mariners. I'm going to take the Mariners on the road here. It's a hostile place to play. Toronto can get very loud inside the Rogers Center. It's a tough place to play. I just think Toronto's lineup for me can be way too hot and way too cold, and that the pitching just isn't there. The name of the game right now in postseason baseball is pitching. And for me, that's why I'm leaning some of the ways I am. And that's why I took the Mets. It's why I'm taking the Mariners. I know you said that you think the Phillies have a better rotation than the Cardinals. I think Aaron Nola probably is the best pitcher on both teams. They also have Syndergaard, but I just like the Cardinals. But either way, I think this is the most entertaining series. You're talking about game 1 being at 4:00 on Friday, game 2 being at 4:00 on Saturday. So late afternoon, early evening baseball in Canada. A lot of young players on both teams, a lot of young future stars. It's going to be fun.
So that leads us to the last wild card series between the Guardians and the Rays. This one, I really do hope I'm right. I really, really do, because I think it's going to be a sweep for Cleveland. I think they're a better team than Tampa this year. I think that they have the advantage. Obviously, they have advantage at home, but they have the advantage in record. They're 4-2 against Tampa this year. They just took 2 of 3 from the Rays. The Rays are coming in on a losing streak, although they could snap it if they win this last game today against Boston. But I'm taking Cleveland pretty easily. If they can get, Bieber and McKenzie on great starts, they got it. And if they can manufacture runs, even better.
I don't know if I've ever stressed the importance. Obviously, Mitch, you always want to win game 1 of whatever sport you're playing or whatever series. I don't know if I can ever stress the importance of winning game 1 more than here for the Guardians.
Yeah.
Because you're throwing your ace, who is motivated, extremely motivated. Mitch, just as I do, but I mean, you're in there, you're covering the team, you're in the clubhouse. Last time Shane Bieber pitched in a playoff game, Mitch, do you remember how many runs he gave up?
How many runs did he give up?
7 to the New York Yankees in game 1 of the first round back in 2020 when the playoffs were expanded. That's the last time Shane Bieber's pitched in the playoffs. And he has made it clear he wants another opportunity. He wants to go out there and show that, he is one of the top pitchers in baseball, and he wants to put his team in a position to win. On the flip side, you have what probably was the favorite for AL Cy Young in the first half of the season in Shane McClanahan opposing him. Started the All-Star game, was great, had an injury in the second half. We saw him pitch recently last week. I think this series goes 3. I do. I think this is a 3-game series. I think that these are the most relatable teams in terms of how they play baseball, in terms of payroll, in terms of managers, in terms of bullpen usage and matchups out of any team in the postseason. And that's why I'm scared. I did not want to play Tampa. They do have what I think is the biggest X factor, both pitching and offensively. Pitching, it's Tyler Glass now. He is getting the game 2 start. You're talking about a guy that we saw in the 2020 postseason really carry the Rays all the way through to the World Series, a guy that his fastball reaches up to 97 to 99. I believe he's 6'6", 6'7", and the ball in his hand looks like a golf ball. He is coming back, but he's a wild card, Mitch, because if he regains the form of what he was in 2020, you're talking about a guy that can really shut down your lineup. And then Randy Arozarena. Mitch, your goal should be never to let your best player beat you. And we would know, we watched teams intentionally walk Jose Ramirez how many times this year. Randy Arozarena is a guy on this team that will get the offense going one way or another. He has the ability to put the ball out of the park. He has to plug a gap, lay one down. He's got speed. The Guardians cannot let Randy Arozarena beat them. They can't. And if he starts to get hot, I hate to say it, but I think the Rays can walk away with this. But if this goes 3, I will take the team at home. I will take the pitcher that I would want pitching at home in a winner go home game in Quantrill. I'll take the Guards in 3. I'm nervous, though. I'm beyond nervous. But I'm also excited because at the end of the day, Mitch, if they lose, yeah, it's going to suck. It really will. But you and I have both openly admitted on this podcast, we did not expect to be here when the season started. I don't want to just say we're happy to be here. And I have told you all during the podcast, your goal is just get there, right? Get into the big dance and see what happens. I think the Guardians are still being extremely disrespected right now. You're a division champion. You're playing at noon on Friday and Saturday. Guards in 3. I'll say that. And I'll also say that it was very nice of the MLB to put game 3 at 4:00 because a lot of fans in First Energy Stadium will be able to make it over since you'll be leaving after halfway through the third quarter anyways, because the Browns will be down by 20 plus.
Exactly. You either run down over to the flats or you get back up into downtown and you enjoy yourself. And hopefully the drinks you're having are for euphoria and not, well, I guess it would be for euphoria, but not for euphoria in the sake of drowning out sorrow. So when we come back, I want to get to the rest of the predictions here because we have a lot of them here to get to. Obviously, the other division winners we have to get to in the postseason. We'll be right back right after these quick messages.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
Hard work is something you're accustomed to. Van Nostrand Young understands that principle. Our access is achieved with organizations like Grange Insurance. Safety and prevention specialists utilize our VanCan assessments process to ensure that you and your colleagues are in the best hands. You want the safest environment for your business, and we can guide you there.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris.
If you're purchasing a new home, the team at Hartzler's Quality Housing is here to help. Take advantage of record low interest rates to make your new home a reality. Locally owned and operated since 1978, Hartzler's Quality Housing has the experience to guide you through the process. You'll find a wide selection of model homes on site to fit any budget. Open 6 days a week just off I-77. You can also visit them online at hartzlers.com. Hartzler's Quality Housing. Quality from start to finish.
When others treat your fries as an afterthought, all you're left with are cold, soggy fries. That's why Wendy's new fries are ones you won't forget, guaranteed to be hot and crispy, or we'll replace them. We're talking natural cut, skin-on fries, perfectly seasoned with a hint of sea salt. In fact, they're even preferred almost 2-to-1 over McDonald's. These are fries so hot and crispy, they beg a new question.
What would you like with your fries?
Try them today, only at Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, taste preference based on a national taste test by an independent research company.
And welcome you back to the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch, Spinell, Mitchell, Balla. It's now time to continue on with our Major League Baseball postseason predictions here. We just got to the wild card round in the last segment. This one we're going to the division series. So, Mitch, your top four for the wild card were Seattle, Cleveland, the Mets, and the Cardinals. So I want to make sure I get this right. In this instance, we would have the Mets moving on to face I would believe the top seed in the
Dodgers
in the National League, which is the Dodgers. And then the Cardinals would go on to face the Braves, who are also a 100-win team. Okay, so we start off with your matchup of the Braves and the Cardinals. Is this an easy win for the Braves, or did the Cardinals give them a serious series? Or I was about to say, you mentioned the last segment.
I'm taking the Cardinals, Mitch. I think that there's, if you go through history when it was just a one-game wild card, Mitch, typically, and I can't say it for a fact, but I do know off memory, typically you see one wild card team win the next series. And I personally think that you're going to see one of these top four seeds that got a bye, obviously 2 NL, 2 AL. I think you're going to see one of them slip up. And my guess right now is it's going to be the Braves. I think that they're very hot right now. And I think that almost that long break is going to get to them. And I will take the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals will be able to go to Atlanta in a best of 5 and wrap things up in probably game 4 in St. Louis.
See, I'm in the mind where I think that Atlanta learned how to win in the postseason last year, so I'm going to take the Braves pretty easily over the Cardinals. Now, we also have the Mets taking on the Dodgers, and that one, to me, also seems easy because I'm going to take the Dodgers in that one.
Yeah, no, I'll take Dodgers too. I just don't see how the Mets are going to be able to the Mets, in my opinion, Mitch, when it comes to the Dodgers, are looking in the mirror. But when you look in the mirror, you kind of have that mirage of what you think you look like. And the Mets think they look like the Dodgers, but they're really not the Dodgers. They aren't. The Dodgers are just head and heels above everybody else in baseball. There's a reason they have over 110 wins right now in baseball. They were the first team to clinch. They were the first team to receive the first round bye. I mean, you're talking about their second best team in the division, made the playoffs, Mitch. And I think during one point last week, they were over 14 and a half games behind them. I'm not sure what it looks like because I don't have the standings pulled up right now, but the Dodgers are the best team in baseball. And I think they will handle the Mets. Won't be shocked though, if this goes like a 6 or 7 game series potentially, but I'll take the Dodgers.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be an easier one when it gets to the division side. Now, if the Mets do ball out pitching wise, then they can easily take down that Dodgers lineup. But that Dodgers lineup is still so lethal that even if, you know, the Dodgers could have 2 starting pitchers the entire postseason, I think they could still really do some damage. As for the American League, we would have in your thing here, it would be Seattle up against Houston.
Yes, which is a division matchup in the division series. These are 2 teams that play each other, obviously, in the AL West all season long. But Mitch, like the Dodgers in the West, the Astros are the best team in the American League. I think that the Mariners getting into the playoffs is a great story. I think them beating Toronto will be an even better story. I will take the Astros here, though, and I'll be nice and say in 4.
In 4 games. All right. Well, then that leads us to the division series that features the Guardians. It's Cleveland up against the New York Yankees. And before we get to our picks, I should mention that we didn't get. This is on me because of the blocking of the show. Aaron Judge setting what I'm calling I'm not referring to it as the American League record, even though it is. I'm referring to it as the Natty home run record. Can we at least say that, Mitch? Because he did break it last. The Natty record, the natural record.
Oh, I mean, sure, if you want to say that.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I mean, 73 is still in the record book.
Right. That's what I mean. It's the official record.
You're saying it natural, so sure.
As of now, too, because like we don't know what's going to come later on. There could be something that comes out that we weren't aware of, but it looks as if this 6'7", 280-pound hitter.
Yep.
That's not surprising to me that he could hit 62 home runs, but
and Mitch, let's also be honest though. Look where he plays. A lot of his opposite field fly balls do get to go out, whereas if he played somewhere like a Kansas City, they're fly ball outs. I mean, let's just be honest. I'm not saying every home run. I mean, Aaron Judge has hit.
No, there's that whole Twitter thing where it's like, oh, this ball would have flown out of Yankee Stadium, but it wouldn't have flown out of 27 ballparks. You know, I get that.
By the way, for anybody out there that likes baseball, phenomenal account to follow because it is awesome. I mean, you think about the giant wall left 19-foot wall progressive field. Last night, Jose Ramirez hits one off the top. And then you go to that account, it'll say, well, you know, it was a double here for Jose Ramirez. It would have donged at, 7 of the 30 ballparks in baseball. It's an awesome account. But I mean, I'm not poo-pooing 62.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Everybody's a beneficiary. And also being 6'7" and as good as he is, that's also a benefit, but that's not something that other players can control.
All right. So now it's between the Yankees and the Guardians.
Yeah.
And as much as the Guardians can do such good things and have been kind of competitive against New York this year, I remember the Sunday game they had a few months ago where Tristan McKenzie pitched an ace of a start.
Yep.
I think this go. I have to take the Yankees in this one. I'm sorry. I even disrespected you today by wearing one of these. I only wore this because I didn't have my Cleveland hats are in my car. And I needed something to wear, and all my other caps are either dirty or kind of bent right now. And this is the one that could fit my head the best. And I wasn't going to wear a snapback, and I know I just disrespected you, but yeah, I have to take the Yankees on this one because they're just an overall better team, and the overall better team is going to win in a series like this. And I can't even get the thing perfect on my head now. If I can get it in the screen.
Always on crack.
That's respectful.
First off, Mitch, before you go any farther, for anybody not watching the podcast right now, Mitch Spinell just turned around the hat that he has on. I had no idea what it was. I see the MLB baseball logo.
Yeah.
It is the New York Yankees hat. It is. And that is the disrespect. I do have the Tampa Bay Rays jersey behind my left shoulder, but I have the World Series jersey for, at the time, the Cleveland Indians over my right shoulder as props. Just utter disbelief for me right now.
I don't have any things that I could grab in my vicinity right now other than the 2 tapes that I showed you the other day. I can't defend myself. Yeah, that's on me. But look, this is a great season for Cleveland. You said the last segment, we don't want to just say we were just here to be here. I think it is. I think in that sense, it wouldn't be heartbreaking to lose to the Yankees. Would you lose in 5 games and you lose the lead in the 9th inning to win the series and then you lose? That's heartbreaking. But I can't say that's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen that way, if New York just easily dispatches you in 3 or 4 games, I'd be like, Yeah, that's a better team. That's a really good team. I can't knock them for it. I can't say I'm disappointed in the team because what are you gonna do? Especially with the next matchup you would have in the next round where you have to take on the not objectively, I don't know because it's playoffs, but the better record Astros. That's such a tall order to do in this playoffs, man. And then you got to face probably the Dodgers or somebody else in that. I can't see this Cleveland team lasting that long. I really, really want them to, though.
It's a gauntlet, Mitch. I don't think I think that there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's a gauntlet after the division series. I took the Guards in 3. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
I think that whoever wins the series between the Guards and Tampa Bay will win the American League Division Series. I told you there's usually one team in the wild card that wins every year. I feel more confident in this happening than I do with the Cardinals advancing to the NLCS. Whoever comes out of this AL wildcard round between the Guards and the Rays, however, there's a lot of confusion here, Mitch. The brackets are set up in a certain way, but on MLB.com, it does say the lower seed goes to the higher seed. But on the bracket, it doesn't look that way. Where realistically, if the Rays do beat the Guardians, they would technically go to Houston. It'd be a 1 versus 6 seed.
Yes.
But the way they're also positioning it on not even the picture, the way they talk about it, they're saying that doesn't matter. So let me be clear. If it doesn't matter and the winner of the Cleveland-Tampa Bay series goes to New York, I am taking the winner, which right now I have the Guardians. Or if it is Tampa, I'll take Tampa. If New York plays Seattle, if Tampa beats Cleveland and Tampa goes to Houston, I'll take the Yankees. But Mitch, Garrett Cole has only really shown up in one postseason, and it was the year the Astros won the World Series. The lineup can be hot or cold. We've seen it before. We really have. And the bullpen to me, I think there's better bullpens out there. I think that with how the Guardians play, that if they can steal one in New York, I think they can end up winning the series in 4 games. I really do. And I'm more nervous about the Cleveland Guardians playing the Tampa Bay Rays than I am the Cleveland Guardians playing the New York Yankees, the ALDS. And that's me being honest. I am not afraid of the New York Yankees. I am terrified of the Houston Astros. I am terrified of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And probably third is the Rays. There's a reason I didn't want to play the Rays at all in the wild card round. Screw it. When the Guardians win the wild card series, they will defeat the New York Yankees in the ALDS, and they will play Houston in the ALCS.
So then, speaking of the ALCS, I mean, we have your. I was say, I think we have both. No, you have St. Louis. I'm sorry, I wrote ours down accidentally the same, but you have St. Louis and Atlanta in your NLCS, and I have the Dodgers and the Braves. So it'd be the rematch between those two. I'm trying to look at a Braves Cardinals series. What advantages do you think the Cardinals could have over Atlanta in a 7-game series like this?
I can't say experience. You're talking about also, I do think the Braves are also extremely disrespected. This is the defending world champions we're talking about. This is also the team that's won the NL East for 5 consecutive years. I think the Braves are extremely disrespected. Like you said, Mitch, I believe they have over 100 wins now or close to it.
Yeah, they do.
I still don't think they get the respect that they deserve. I think everybody talks about the 3 teams on one side of the bracket in the NL, the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Padres. I firmly believe that. I just think that, to your point, with some teams getting overlooked and underlooked, I still think this is a series, if the Cardinals make it, of being underlooked for both teams. I just like where the Cardinals are at right now. And I'm not so set on the feel-good story of Albert Pujols going out on top. Something tells me the Cardinals are always one of those teams that you don't want to see in the playoffs. And they have a really good 1-2 punch in the lineup with Arenado and Goldschmidt. I mean, you're talking about your corners are locked down defensively and offensively. It's just more so my gut telling me that the Cardinals will beat the Braves. The Braves, though, you lose your guy in Freddie Freeman, but last year, a lot of people forget Ronald Acuna Jr. wasn't on the team. Like, he was hurt with the torn ACL. Could make up for that. You have the rookie Harris. It's hard to say, Mitch. It's more so just a gut feeling that I think the Cardinals are ready and poised to make a run.
So who are you taking in this round?
I'm taking the Cardinals over the Braves to get to the NLCS.
To get to the World Series, you mean?
Oh, I thought I misheard you then. No, I'm taking the Dodgers over the Cardinals in the NLCS. I'm taking the Dodgers to go to the World Series from the National League.
Wait, so you picked okay, the seeding I think is where I got confused because I initially had it as Cardinals and Braves in the championship series.
No,
how did I do that? So okay, so yours were okay.
I'm
Remind
telling
me
you,
of
the bracket thing is messing everybody up, Mitch. It's not.
Yes.
It's hard. If the Cardinals are 3, if they win, they would automatically go to Atlanta.
Okay, so then they would play the Braves in the division series, and the Dodgers
Yes.
play the Mets.
Yes.
And you pick the Cardinals and the Dodgers. So then who do you pick between the Dodgers and the Cardinals?
The Dodgers.
Dodgers. Okay, yeah. I got confused. I confused myself.
No, you're good.
So
what about you? Let's go. Who are you taking?
Well, mine would be between the Dodgers and the Braves, I would believe, if that's the way it goes. And as much as I want to say Atlanta goes back to back, I mean, I don't know. That's such a tricky one because the Dodgers have the home field. I think the Dodgers are one of those teams that can take on the Mets night in and night out this postseason. I'm gonna go with Dodgers too. I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah.
Now the other matchup you have between the Astros and the Guardians, and that's harder than the Yankees series to me. It might even be harder than the World Series matchup potentially, if it's not Dodgers, I should say.
Well, and this is the point. That's why I'm glad we're doing this right now, because I'm either going to look like a complete fool or I'm going to look good, and I'm going to have to stick true to my word. I will take the Astros over the Guardians in the American League Championship Series. I do think the Astros are clear cut, far and away the best team in the American League. And I think that for the first time in quite a while, you're going to see the 2 best teams from each league in the World Series.
Okay. So I went a little bit different from you on that. I think that if Aaron Judge can remain healthy and productive, I think if you can steal a game or 2 from the top pitchers for Houston, like say Verlander, who's probably going to win the Cy Young at this rate.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm actually going to put the Yankees in the World Series for the first time since 2009. And we're going to have the classic matchup that everybody's going to love in the World Series, the Yankees up against the Dodgers. Well, let me open the door for you. Welcome to the joke. But yeah, so you're taking the 2017 rematch.
Yeah, which is going to suck. But allegedly a clean series this time. Hopefully nobody's cheating.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. That says something about the Astros that I would rather see the Dodgers play the Yankees in the World Series, and also because the Yankees haven't been there in a long time, and we haven't seen a matchup of the Yankees and Dodgers since 1981. I don't know. There's something about, unless the 2 teams are like the 2 best, there's something about me not liking rematch series. It's one thing if a team gets back there back to back. Like let's say this year the Braves made the World Series, but they take on Cleveland again. That's interesting to me. Braves and Astros again, not interesting to me at all. Well, I mean it is, but it's not the one that I want to see. So you're taking Astros and Dodgers. So it's for 7 games, winner take all. Oh boy, that's a tough one. That would be a tough one for me to pick. I'm gonna let you decide that.
I have Dodgers in 5 or 6. The series does not go 7. For as much as people want to trash the American League Central, I think Houston also kind of has an inflated record. I still think they're the best team in the American League. Let me be clear. I think their record in terms of wins and losses is a little inflated when you have the A's, the Angels, and the Rangers in your division that you get to beat up on all year. But no, I will take the Dodgers, Mitch. They've been the best team all year. When they have a guy go down, another guy steps up. Somebody like Joey Gallo, who looked like he was, dead in the water in terms of an MLB career, has went back to LA with the change of scenery and really kind of revitalized himself and put himself in there to be a threat in the lineup when he does play. This is, I think it'll be a potential classic, but I do have the Dodgers winning it all. I will say though, if our team rattles it off and gets the World Series, you would have a $260 million plus payroll versus a sub $60 million payroll.
How about that?
Also, the youngest team in baseball versus, I think the Dodgers are top 5 oldest team in baseball. How fun would that be? You're talking about the new kids on the block versus, a team that's really, they've only won one World Series, but that's been the top dog in baseball for a number of years.
No, absolutely. That would give me remnants of the 95 series between the Indians and the Braves, and also be the first time since 1920 that the two teams would have faced off in the Fall Classic, because the Dodgers used to play in Brooklyn. I don't even think they were the Dodgers back then. They were another name that I can't think of at the moment. So I am going to take, because the oh boy, do I no, I'm gonna go same as you, but in a different way. I'm gonna take the Dodgers over the Yankees. I think it's gonna be either 6 or 7 games. I think that lineup can produce more runs away from the long ball than the Yankees could. I think the pitching could have a slight advantage. And when it comes down to the big game moments, I think the Dodgers might have a little more experience than this current Yankees core does. And I'm gonna take the Dodgers.
I just want to make one thing abundantly clear, and we'll have plenty more episodes before the World Series gets here. If it is a New York Yankees versus New York Mets World Series, I will not watch one single game.
Come on,
I will not
dude.
watch.
That's what's fun.
Fan. No, it's not fun. I hate New York. I can't stand their sports. I can't stand the media in New York. I will not watch an entirety of any of the 1 through 4 guaranteed games, potentially up to 7. I might watch here and there. I will take and put myself to bed by 9:30 when they don't want to start a first pitch till like 8:30 for 2 East Coast teams. So no, I nobody wants to see that. I'd rather see LA versus New York than New York versus New York.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, because I think the Yankees would easily win that one, even though the Mets are a 100-win team. I don't know. I mean, I'd rather see that than freaking Toronto and Philadelphia again. I'd rather see that than Seattle and St. Louis. That's not fun. I mean, it is fun for those two teams, but it's not fun for the rest of the country. It's like that Kansas City and San Francisco matchup a few years ago. Granted, that turned out to be one of the better series of the last decade, so I'll give them that. Kansas City and the Mets as a better example. But as of now, those are our predictions. We want to know your guys's as well. I mean, you can comment below or just add us wherever. And, this is the end of the show, so we want to remind you guys we're on a bunch of podcast platforms: Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts. You can't watch it on Apple Pods or SoundCloud. You can watch it on Spotify and here on YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And BigTimeSportsOhio.com. And we have Twitters at Mitch Spinell, at Mitchell Balla, and at Big Time Sports Ohio, Facebook, Instagram, the whole spiel. Mitch, what's the fact of the day?
Oh, I do have a good fact, and it's actually in a different language today. There's actually a lot of confusion amongst writers and media on what the wild card round is supposed to look like in terms of the writing. Is it capital W and wild space capital C and card? Is wild card one word? Is it wild hyphen card? Nobody knows. But Rafa, who, if you know, that is the Spanish broadcaster, play-by-play broadcaster for your Cleveland Cavaliers, has made it a lot easier for everybody out there. So if you're confused about it, just say wild card round in Spanish, which is comodín. Emphasis on the last vowel on the I. There you go. There's your fact of the day. It's how you say wild card in Spanish.
People think wild card is spelled with one word.
Oh, man, it's actually hysterical. If you go look through a lot of stuff, which also, if you just go to MLB.com and just look how they spelled wild card, kind of answers your question itself. But yeah, there's people who think wild card is one word.
All right. Thanks for listening and watching to the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Enjoy your day and enjoy the upcoming postseason.